Hello Sagittarius, Sagittarius Rising and Sagittarius Moon people. This is your weekly astrological and card horoscope for the week starting March 20th, 2017. And a quick heads up for you guys, I will be putting up a special video very soon regarding why and what about the rising sign is so dang important when it comes to these kinds of horoscopes. I can't promise it won't be technical and educational. In fact, I want it to be technical and educational. So you should watch it when it comes out. So, that's just basically a little update there for you. And of course, if you ever want to get a session with me, you can always follow the links below, or go to integrativemysticism.com. So what's going on with your astrology this week anyway? We've got a very relaxed week, thank goodness, right? We've got a big focus on your love life with your 5th house. You know, in the beginning of the week, we've got the sun moving into Aries, and it's basically focusing all your attention on your love life, on your creative life, and your relationship with your kids, going all the way up until the 3rd week of April. And the sun here is talking about getting more time, getting more quality time, but also bringing a lot more of a relaxed and restorative energy to the bonds and to the activities here. You know, has maybe a creative project or maybe an artistic passion gone by the wayside in recent weeks and months because, well, we've just been too dang busy or too tied up? You know, maybe we haven't had as much time to spend with our children, or we've been trying really hard to establish a healthier or a more communicative bond, or even restore a relationship with our kids. This is all going to be a big help. It's going to be great for those of you looking to attract new love, of course, and maybe even trying to get more special dedicated time with a crush or a partner to get closer to that officialhood if that's where you're aiming. And at the end of the week, we do have Mercury, however, in this 5th house of love and romance, forming an opposition to Jupiter, which is currently retrograde in the 11th house of friendships and social networking. And this opposition is basically saying there might be a point where you're kind of pulled between, you know, an obligation to your friends and an obligation to your lover. This might be a situation where maybe you kind of realize maybe things are not gelling together as much as you'd like. Maybe things aren't gelling together as easily as you'd hope. Maybe you're kind of being put on notice for where you might have kept these separate for, you know, in a way that kind of makes it uncomfortable for both parties, okay? And sometimes that happens, you know, when we're seeing new people, you know, we might kind of be like, okay, well, you know, I want to make sure everyone's having a good time, but, you know, who's not feeling included is the question that's got to come up this week. We've also got, over the weekend, the Sun conjunct Venus, currently retrograde, in your 5th house of love and romance. And we're going to be working on clearing or maybe confronting a pervasive issue or insecurity in our children or in our relationships. And this is something that is outstanding and old. What is something that we have had to deal with, we've had to cope with, but it just doesn't seem to be going away? And sometimes that happens, you know, sometimes there's an old issue that, you know, kind of came up is, you know, from a past relationship, or if it's one of our kids, it's something that they're not developing the ability to kind of clear and grow away from, or get their confidence back from. And the Sun is talking about, no, we gotta heal this. This isn't meant to be something we just sustain. You know, this isn't meant to be something to just be tolerated, you know, for their own good. The relationship, your partner, your kids, for their own good. This needs to be dealt with. And believe me, everyone will be a lot happier if we can just be okay with doing that instead of just getting by. So what's going on with your cards this week? Well, for your spiritual advice, we do have the card of the Life-Bringer. Okay, we are talking about healing. We are talking about fulfillment. We're talking about closing old doors for the sake of growth this week. Because the Life-Bringer is saying when things start to take on a life of their own, for better or worse, they need to be confronted as though they have a life of their own. Sometimes that's a good thing, you know, and we find out, wow, this business project has taken on a life of its own. It's already kind of running its own show. Or my child has matured into such a, you know, such an intelligent and such a strong young person, you know, they've got a life of their own, you know, and being able to confront things, you know, for better or worse, or just approach things is a better way to phrase it, you know, as if it had a life of its own, is going to be so much more enriching for your experience with that. However, problems can take on a life of their own too, because if a problem that, say, a person has, like a coworker or a relative or whoever, sometimes a problem gets a vote. You know, it's kind of like, all right, let's say we're taking a vote of like 5 people and we're all in the family, right? So it's kind of like, okay, everyone votes yes, no. I vote yes, brother votes no, sister votes yes, sister votes yes, and then other brother votes yes, but other brother's problem votes no, and so it's like yes and no at the same time. It can kind of mix things up, so we've got to be able to pay attention to when things are taking on a life of their own this week. And again, just let that be that when you go and approach it. For your Earth sector, when it comes to your work and finances, we do have the Six of Cups upright. Those of you who may have been thinking about where the heck, or what the heck, did a certain job position or maybe a certain company do with my application, I haven't heard from anyone. Old contacts are coming back this week with the Six of Cups upright. And this could be a great thing, especially for those of you that maybe work for yourselves, or maybe you just feel like it's a bit slow. Where are all my customers? Maybe it's not about where's all my where are my applications, but where's my business? Where's my money? Where's that? Well, the Six of Cups upright is we've got regulars coming back into our space. Regulars we haven't seen in a while. And possibly people also processing old paperwork, things that are overdue to be, to be finished, to be fixed, things that have been kind of just sitting in a pile somewhere. Because the Six of Cups is talking about a catch-up opportunity for a lot of you Sagittarius people, catching up on money, catching up with customers, catching up with old business prospects that kind of froze in time. And all of it turning out for the very, very best in a lot of ways, because we still are operating within this really strong Mars in the 6th house energy. Mars is in Taurus right now, really giving you that competitive advantage when it comes to, throwing your weight around, when it comes to socializing with people, getting your work done, getting your schedule under control, and getting you the attention you need to, again, professionally compete. For your communications with air, when it comes to your friends, your relatives, the others in your life, we've got the Ten of Cups upright. Beautiful card. There may be actually an invitation coming your way. People are already planning for a holiday vacation, some kind of big event. There could be some kind of news of a big event coming your way, a graduation, a wedding, a pregnancy. In fact, with the Ten of Cups upright, we could be even finding out that somebody is, purchasing a home or moving back to town, and thus bringing you closer to more members of your tribe. That being said, those of you who are house hunters as well, when we talk about moves, the Ten of Cups can talk about a happy home. You will be able to find what you are looking for this week, and maybe find the one that you want to put your name on. The nice thing about the Ten of Cups, though, is that there is a happily ever after feel to this energy. So whatever this is, even though it might be small, it might be fleeting, it might be temporary, it is starting a brand new, safe, satisfying era for you and this relative, or you and this friend, now that we are getting another peg in the ground, another pillar, another piece of the fortress is being built, thus making it a lot safer and stronger for you. For your challenge this week with fire, I guess it had to happen, we got the Three of Swords upright. Okay, so when it comes to the Three of Swords, you know me, I don't shelter people, I don't water things down, that's not going to do you any good. The Three of Swords ultimately, at this point in time, as a challenge can indicate you are going to be in a situation where you are being maybe tempted to do something that would be considered a betrayal. Okay? Or you may be involved in a situation you feel is a betrayal of another person. And with, what I'm getting with this Three of Swords is basically saying, look, this is a situation that probably was already going to come to a head at some point in time anyway. We may have put it off for far too long. But the Three of Swords is saying that, somebody is going to end up feeling hurt or feeling betrayed. And a lot of it might have to do with certain things that, maybe we weren't ready to confront about this person. The Three of Swords isn't giving me indication as to whom. But I feel like with the Three of Swords upright, you don't have to betray anyone. If you've already been betraying people, on accident even, this might be something that comes up. But we can heal this. The Three of Swords is a conflict that's brought to light because it needs to be confronted and healed, not just, again, confronted and sustained. For your emotions with water and your romantic life, we do have the Hangman upright. This week could be a little bit interesting with your love life, because the Hangman is saying that your partner is really going out of their way to make a compromise on your behalf. So just be prepared. You might not notice it. For some reason, I feel like it's a sacrifice that doesn't feel... It doesn't feel like it would be a sacrifice for you, but it's a sacrifice for him or her. And that's a very important thing to recognize, because, sometimes we kind of only measure things with our own measuring system, and we don't know how to do conversion, and we obstinately try and tell them our system's better. Be careful with that. Because the thing about the hangman, as far as, this is a big sacrifice your partner's making for you, or your crush is making for you. And again, it might not seem big to you, but you're not the only one with the, with the yardstick and the measuring system you have. So be careful with that. The nice thing about this is, though, with the hangman upright, is that it's being done for you. Now, this can also bring some technical issues in. Okay, sometimes the hangman can also show up where a partner cannot attend or be there for like a big event. If maybe it's this event that's coming up here, the Ten of Cups. Maybe it's sort of, maybe you find out your partner can't get the time off work, or someone's got to stay home with the kids, or something like that. It's okay. That's not the end of the world. But you may be a bit disappointed if he or she can't make it. So I hope you found this helpful, Sagittarius. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate it. And of course, if you'd like to get a session, you can always follow the links below, or go to integrativemysticism.com.